potential of the human mind. Just the quick history of psychedelics as well, which is they have a long history of use as traditional medicine and traditional religion for a lot of cultures. Native American practitioners use them, and Peruvian practitioners as well. So there's a long history in Peru and other parts of South America as well. So that is my little spiel on psychedelics. Surrealism. So surrealism is essentially, I found a really good definition of it. Where is it gone? So it's essentially a 20th century avant-garde movement in art and literature, which seeks to release the creative potential of the unconscious mind. For example, by irrational juxtaposition of images. So the whole idea is to activate the unconscious mind through imagery, paintings, illogical scenes, and it's not just visual, but actually the whole movement spread to many different art forms, music and painting and philosophy and social theory, many different areas it reached. So the movement also had, it was quite interesting, it had a political element, which was it kind of aligned with political causes, communism and anarchism, and there was sort of splits in the surrealism movement between anarchists and communists, which is really funny because I feel like that's quite mirroring what's happening right now. So one of the fun quotes I had about surrealism was from Salvador Dali. So one of the things about surrealism, it has to do with tapping into things that seem illogical, discovering new patterns and ideas, and exploring exactly the unconscious mind, and exploring chaos and those kind of things. And Dali said, the difference between me and a madman is that I'm not mad. So essentially that there was it wasn't just mad chaos, it was actually like deliberately exploring this other world. So yeah, that's my stuff on surrealism. And then the last one, spirituality. So spirituality is a very, me and Jennifer were talking about yesterday how to define spirituality, because it's very wide-ranging topic, and that's one of the things I found out is that it's been very hard to study spirituality because there's so many different components to it, and everybody has their own sort of ideas of what it is, and apparently that's kind of hindered any kind of study of spirituality, which is quite funny. So some of the kind of definitions that people have put forward, essentially I'm going to list a few. So one of them is the quality of being concerned with the human spirit or the soul, as opposed to material or physical things. That's one. Another one is kind of modern use of spirituality, which has to do with referring to a subjective experience of a sacred dimension or the deepest values and meanings by which people live. And so another one is a belief in a supernatural being or beyond the known and observable realm. Another one is a quest for an ultimate or sacred meaning, which rings true with me. Another one is encountering one's own inner dimension. And again, another one is, I like this one. This is the mental aspect of life as opposed to the material and sensual aspects of life. The ecclesiastical sphere of light against the dark world of matter, which I think is another one I like. And another thing, there were some people who are atheists who also are spiritual, and their definitions of it tend to be focusing on qualities like love, compassion, patience, tolerance, forgiveness, contentment, responsibility, harmony, and a concern for others. So they were humanists. That was the humanist idea of spirituality, which I thought was quite interesting. And the last thing I want to say about spirituality was some of these, we talk about the spiritual experience and the spiritual path. So these are a list of things that kind of are defined as the spiritual experience, which is being connected to a larger reality, yielding a more comprehensive self, joining with other individuals and the community, or the human community and nature, and the cosmos or the divine realm. So that is my definitions.
Fantastic.
Definitely.
Super. So let's go around the room and introduce ourselves, please. Let's start with Ryan, because you're first on my screen.
Hey there. My name is Ryan. I am a musician. I'm very interested in improvisatory work and kind of sound for sound's sake, exploring all frequencies, vibrations, and just accessing these different parts of your mind by using these vibrations. Also very interested in photography as well, kind of appreciating the moment that you're in and finding beauty in places that you wouldn't necessarily find it. Yeah.
Beautiful. Shuby 3 Doobie 3.
Hi. Also Chris, Shuby 3 Doobie 3, Shuby Doobie, many names. Among being a special education teacher, I'm a writer, poet, spoken word artist, but I'm interested in, what psychedelics could do for the mind, and personally what they can do for my soul, and putting my poetry and my art out there and being as honest as I can with like who I am, and not like trying to, not trying to be fake, and using stream of consciousness to tap into that creativity.
Great. Jennifer.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Simone. I am a musician, mostly improvisatory, but I also play saxophone. So I'm into more studied forms of music, I guess, jazz. And I am a spiritualist and herbalist and mystic. Yeah.
That's a good combo.
Oh yeah.
Oh, Hector, tell us what's up.
Hello, my name is Hector. I use he, they pronouns, and some of the stuff that I do is poetry, visual art. I made my background for an album that I'm creating right now called Strange Ecstasy. It's about the explosive, messy, and beautiful creation process. And I also have been not as long as poetry and music, but I have been practicing alchemy on myself, my own unique form of alchemy, creating my own symbols, my own dialect for myself to utilize, and every now and then I get to share with people in like intimate spaces. And I also do dream work. At times, I sit down with people and help them process their dreams and how that can, what information that's trying to tell them, and how I've been able to like come to that is by doing the work myself. And yeah, that's just some of the work that I do.
Awesome. Nebula,
Awesome.
do you want to say a couple words about yourself?
Yes, hello. So I am I also do improvisational music. I play theremin, and I suppose like I got interested in that because it was this whole idea of like going beyond what's already been created, and chaos, and creating kind of beauty out of that. So I always appreciated. And I also am a poet, and I do sort of I've done stream of consciousness writing for a long time, but more recently I definitely have been interested in using psychedelics for writing, and kind of, I call it channeling the cosmic consciousness, and getting ideas from that, and putting that into my art.
Fabulous. And I am Michael Giotis. I perform and write poetry as original Giotis. And I am super happy to bring this group together. I facilitate for regional economic development and sustainability here in Northern California when I work, but mostly I take care of my kids and write poetry and listen to other poets. And I guess one of the most amazing things about the COVID times, one of the ups for me has been that I've been connecting with artists. Even before I got involved in Instagram mid last year, I was just calling and talking to artists I knew around the world. And so it's great to be in this room with a bunch of new artists to me, mostly a couple old friends. Great. So I think why we've got these three topics together is that there's something about the creative process that comes from the unknown. And spiritualism, spirituality, religion has long been a way of accessing and addressing and manifesting that unknown origin of creativity in the world and the unexplainable. So I feel like that when we say spirit, maybe that's not clear to everyone what that means, but religion, the non-material part of life, that seems to be central to how civilizations and people develop. So whereas religion, though, has been around for millennia, psychedelics also have been around for millennia, but more to the Western way of thinking or a recent development. And I think one of the triggers for that was the advent of surrealism, which was a reaction to this linear Enlightenment thinking of like everything is solvable and science will take care of it and 1 + 1 = 2. But then like whence the creative spark? And surrealism explores that, especially after Freud came in and helped us realize that we don't know what we know. We're not aware of a lot of what we're thinking and acting from. And surrealism, for example, Dali is probably the most famous surrealist, gave us a way of putting things into the world without having them need to make sense. And so it was exploring that font of creativity, the unknown fountain of where art and so many things in our lives come from. New ideas, innovation, we would say, in the 21st century would come from this as well. And psychedelics are a tool to bridge these things. In each of them, though, ultimately, the point is, at least to the people in this room, is to see how it helps us manifest our lives. So I was wondering what you all thought about how art, in particular, since we're artists, and art allows us to do things from outside of a linear, mathematical, rational approach, although much art is rational. But for us, getting outside the box with art is, I believe, a way of helping us manifest how we want to be in the world. So, popcorn, whoever wants to answer first, what is that connection between art and life and surrealism and spirit and being who we want to be in the world, becoming who we want to be?
Yeah, I think we have a really amazing opportunity to access like a wellspring of imagination, and surrealism really brought that forward. You can like improvisationally bring all these symbols and these ideas and put them together, and then kind of worry about what they all mean later, or maybe they don't mean anything. You're just creating and you're wringing out the sponge of all these ideas and everything. And when you are able to access that space of creativity and you get that river flowing, you're going to find some really precious ideas and really wonderful things that resonate, if not with you, maybe with somebody else. So to explore that realm and that imagination is really, really important, I think. Definitely in all aspects, all art forms, in all forms of life.
Shub, you talk about this a lot.
Yeah, I'm just thinking like ways I use it personally and speak on my truth to like shed away the ego and like to try to like really be naked and raw in my art. And I've been there, and I've definitely, you know looking back, I'm like, shit, did I overshare? um but at the same time, when people come to me and like tell me things in the DM about my poetry or like comment, that's the main thing they're commending me for, is my honesty with myself and my art. And that's one thing I'm kind of proud of, is putting myself out there, and like putting a mirror in poetry to what I'm thinking and what I'm living through. So yeah, I think it's definitely resonated, and I've been somewhat successful at it. And what I wanted to do was make connections with people, and you know I'm not out here trying to, which is fine, to commercialize your art. It's totally fine to do that. um just I never wanted to pull the trigger personally, but that's neither here nor there, like commercializing art, but still. um,
Yeah, I feel that in terms of commercializing the art, it felt kind of tricky for me, but then the more I talked with various artists who were creating a business out of their art, the more I felt empowered that it could be that I can be in charge of where it goes, and that the more financial support I can get from things that I love, the less I have to pursue things that I don't love, and thus like I like never I've never had like a full-time 9 to 5. I've always like had like internships and like just like juggling a bunch of small opportunities, all in the name of like what I'm passionate about and what I love, combining that with opportunity. And part of that was, well, like basically all of that was just trusting my intuition. Um I'm like I live I don't just like believe it, like I live the idea that my intuition is like all of the knowledge accumulated intergenerationally,
Oh
that's
yeah.
just kind of like in my body, in my DNA, in my non-physical being, and it's always like communicating to me what it sees more quickly than what my conscious mind can like gather. It feels like it just picks up all these tiny little nuances, and then it accumulates past a certain threshold, and then it becomes like in my conscious mind. And I've always applied that process to what I'm pouring my time and financial efforts into my art. In terms of like the actual art I create intuitively, I mean, I just kind of like let my fingers do the work. Whenever, most of the time, unless I'm like doing like a very formulated poem, and even then it has intuition. Most of the time it's just I kind of just like do the poem in one go and revisit it later. And before I revisit it, I perform it and just kind of I've stripped away so much toxicity and like colonized thinking, where I used to be like apologetic, like you could hear it in my tone, like, oh, I'm not really sure about these crazy interdimensional things I'm saying. But the more I just owned it, the more open I seemed to people, and the more people were willing to have a conversation with me about it. And then it's like, oh, okay, you don't understand that. Let me reframe it in this way that still can resonate for both of us. Yeah, just like letting my lantern show me the way to wherever it is I should go.
Oh yeah. I dig that, activating the junk DNA, right?
Yo, check it out really quick before anyone else goes. I didn't even think surrealism and poetry could like coincide. And like I think I was writing it before I realized it could be something. And then someone said something during a live, my friend Habit Poetry, Patrick Kahn. He's like, I've been described as a surrealist poet. I was like, wait, that's a thing. I was like, shit, that is a thing. Like I was like, oh, it's like it dawned on me, I had an epiphany. Anyway, sorry.
Hey, Jennifer. So you have a little bit different approach, I think, than the rest of us. I'd love to hear from you.
Yeah. So I don't really use psychedelics. Talking about the key to surrealism for me feels like the chaos. And yeah, like chaos, I understand is like a form of magic. That's how I process that. And it's just like there's no rhyme or reason, but it can end up in a good way if you like really use your intuition on things. So I feel like what I do is really intuitive artistically. But I was having shower thoughts earlier and I was thinking about music in general and just why I started and my intention with it. And I was, music is a inherently like spiritual thing. I mean, it was like a heavenly tool and was like a heavenly like thing, and I feel like music for me was always spiritual, or I always had some type of spiritual connection just because like I grew up down south and my family always went to church, and the churches down south, like the music is just like it was the best part for me. And like the rhythms and just especially churches down south because of the history and like transatlantic slave trade kind of like kept some of that history and that culture though from Africa. Like it just kind of like stayed in the South in the Southern culture, at least for like African Americans. So like those rhythms and those sounds like growing up in church were just like, I don't know, it just pulled something in me like with music. And I feel like I always pursued it because of that, like that spiritual pull or like that spiritual connection. And yeah, I don't know, I got really into like a study form when I was a teenager, doing a lot of jazz. And I feel like it was necessary to learn because of my instruments and stuff, but it's also like I had to let all that go. I feel like that's like a chaos, and like a rule in jazz is like you learn all the rules to like forget all the rules, and then like that's just kind of how you play. But yeah, I feel like that whole process is like real chaotic and real just like that's the magic of it though. And that's kind of what I thrive off of artistically.
I think my board back here is a fail from what I can tell, but two things you said really jumped out, which was shower thoughts. I just love that term. And chaos is a kind of magic.
So I have this book, Chaos, Creativity, and the Cosmic Consciousness. It's Terence McKenna is one of the authors, but the last word in the book, the last sentence, is him saying the middle name of chaos is opportunity, which nice. I felt was quite a good thing to say. But yeah, just to add on to what Jennifer was saying, when I first started being an improvisational musician, I was my mentor was a saxophone player who'd been around New York, for many decades. But his whole approach, I mean, he was a Buddhist, and I really did learn about music as a spiritual practice. And actually, art is a spiritual practice for me in general. I know that it was like I was doing art for a long time, but I didn't realize that was my spiritual purpose, you know, until those things figured out. But definitely, I started going to a lot of sort of psychedelic improvisational shows with my mentor, and I had a 9-to-5 job, and it was a Friday night, and we went to see this thing in Bushwick, and it was like complete anarchism for me. I was sort of in that time studying anarchism, and the whole idea of just like showing up from work and then just creating, just playing whatever, no rules. You can do whatever you want, and you can really just. It was like the complete antithesis. What word am I trying to get there? Antithesis to society. You know, the structure, the rules, the schedules, the suppression of creativity, the suppression of imagination, and all of these you know, social things that I kind of already knew, but the music was really represented this total freedom, complete and utter freedom. And that's really like my whole political idea is about pursuing freedom and liberation. And so the music really, really tied into that. And the psychedelics too, you know, like part of the reason I think that they are illegal in our society is because they activate these parts of our mind that have been like systematically oppressed basically by the powers that be, and really one of the things I found out in this book was that throughout history there's been swings in society between uses of alcohol basically, and then psychedelics. So in periods of enlightenment, there's like a shift towards using psychedelics, and then in terms of like times like right now, I guess, or previous, alcohol has been like the drug of choice, and alcohol is obviously a suppressant. It definitely doesn't activate your imagination or anything like that. So of course it's legal and it's fine. So that was very interesting, and I felt like it tied it all to the patriarchy, which was very interesting. So yeah.
I want to touch on anarchy quickly, because I want to make sure maybe not everyone watching this is really familiar with the concept. And anarchy is often used to mean chaos. Like, there was anarchy in the streets. Oh, you mean everyone was getting along and helping each other and organizing spontaneously? Wonderful. Because that's what anarchy means. It doesn't mean chaos in the streets. And I'll just give an example. During the Occupy movement, which was an anarchist movement, I was at Occupy San Francisco, which was not my main Occupy. I was just visiting, and there was a huge gust of wind, and a massive tent blew over. And so what happened? 5 people appeared out of nowhere, each grabbed parts of the tent and the rope, lifted up as a huge, like an industrial one, you know, big commercial tent, tied it down, made sure it was safe, looked at each other and walked off. We didn't say a word. That's anarchy. There's a sense of responsibility, a sense of leadership within each individual. So I don't know, but I've heard Schubert. We may not all be anarchists in this room, but I just wanted to make sure we touched on that point.
No, but you don't have to see eye to eye to break bread with people, and that's the beauty about like art on Instagram, maybe even that, you know, like it seems that people for the most part keep politics out of it. I don't personally. I can't. I was like a political science major, and so but I do see the ridiculousness in each party. So there's many flaws in each ism. We're human.
Ways around. So I think we might touch on politics as we go on, but I want to stick on kind of some of the examples of art. Jennifer, you were talking about jazz, and I think when we think of surrealism, we think of art. We think of you know, there's some early Disney work. There's, you know, animation. There's surrealist theater, but sometimes music doesn't necessarily, and particularly jazz, which is so almost numerological. in the way that it's built off the structure of scales and whatnot. So I was wondering if you had some examples of surrealist jazz.
I really don't, because I feel like most jazz is surrealism or surrealist. Like, at least like, especially later jazz, like, I mean, Coltrane
Yeah, the real out there
alone. I mean,
cosmic
and
stuff.
it's like, yeah, studies with just spirituality and music, and yeah, I don't know. I feel like most most jazz is surrealism to me. But I had a thought in my head that I really wanted to get out. But Nebula, you said something earlier that really struck me about freedom. And I was thinking like it reminded me of like when I used to go to noise shows, like and when I used to play a lot of noise. And when I first heard noise music, I was like very confused, and just like, I don't know, it was chaotic. I was like, why would people like this? This is crazy. Yeah. But then I like really got into it, and there's like this just freedom in that chaos. And I was thinking about the freedom within chaos. And I think that is what makes like chaotic things, or like surrealism, or like just out of the box type of things, spiritual experience, is that freedom within it, like within being able to let go. But that's why I'm saying, like, at the base of it, that jazz is a surrealist genre in general, because it's all about freedom and that whole like letting go or being apart from whatever society is trying to do.
Yeah. And also, like I was thinking about the free jazz, like the evolution of free jazz as well, because that was defined as people breaking the conventions of jazz previously. So free jazz or improvisational jazz, it's kind of the same idea as noise music and all these other things. But I do think that jazz, you're right, as a kind of genre in itself is quite kind of countercultural. But there's a lot of swathes of jazz. But yeah,
I often think of jazz connected with like abstract expressionism, and I like when I think of surrealism, I like the forms that bring in like pieces whole cloth. Like I think of Max Roach and bringing in full like African sounds, and Albert Eiler is a close collaborator of Coltrane, but
Don Cherry.
It's not free jazz. It's like taking the standards of like a march and bringing them into that chaotic space. So a lot of names of bands are going through in the comments here among the panelists, and the one to me that strikes me as surrealist most is Primus. I don't know who knows Primus, but the way that it's comedic and it brings whole forms in, but doesn't let the form control the way it's going. So everybody go listen to Primus immediately.
I mean, if you've heard the South Park intro, you've heard Primus. They do the South Park intro.
That's true. We listen to Primus to get ready for school in the mornings.
I had something about the kind of exploring this freedom and like a way to use psychedelics, specifically for me, like psilocybin mushrooms, to kind of, even mostly in a low dose and like a micro dose kind of setting, but to do it with great intention to kind of deprogram yourself from this whole lifetime of conditioning. Everything we've been taught, everything that we experience is like sort of the idea of somebody else. So to take this like plant medicine and then approach your own emotions and your own being and your own artwork and everything, and start to strip away like all these layers, you're left with a much more like connected connection to like source energy. And I feel personally, I think everyone in here too, is like you feel like a conduit. Sometimes you're not even really creating, you're just like channeling this stuff through you. And the psychedelics definitely are like a kind of key to this doorway, where from there, like your spirit can kind of come through. And yeah, like Hector was saying, this ancestral like intuition that comes through, this wisdom, this gnosis that lays deep within us. That's definitely incredibly liberating, and using psychedelics can definitely help access that space. And then when you're not on them, you can go through the same process and integrate this into your life.
Yeah.
So what do
Mhm.
others think about that? How do psychedelics help us make art? And
Yo,
surrealism and spirituality, of course.
I know I didn't talk about this during our like pre-game, but like I really think we should all read a piece or something that we do just to kind of show like I don't know if this is a panel, but like I would like to at least read an excerpt, of something I do to kind of explain that. How do you guys feel about that?
Yeah, I second
I
that.
think
Yeah, it sounds great.
So like how long would you agree to?
cool.
Like maybe like 5 minutes or at most, or
No,
like
two
2 minutes?
minutes.
2 minutes. 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
All right, so I want to read an excerpt and then yeah. Is that okay? That's cool.
Yeah, let's do it.
So I called this Romantic Philosophers of the Third Kind. I wrote it with another person, Laura Horsheiser. She's an artist on Instagram. It goes by Poetic Instigation. And I'm just gonna, like I said, read an excerpt from it because it's a long one. And it goes to that question, that answer that I'm echoing. Starts off, how's your brain? I'm overflowing. I'm in love with so many poets and finding I am in love with life more and more each day. An epiphany emerges, and all this dawned on me. I believe I'm channeling from the universe's one verse, the playbook to reality. I call it the Library of Light, where all the stories ever written are waiting to be told. We are just mere actors on a cosmic stage, echoing infinity. Our tribe's title, Warriors of the Light, fallen angels, forgotten, amnesiac, awakening. We vibrate with purpose to change the tides of tides and cast aside the shadows lurking and overreaching. Romantic philosophers of the third kind emerge and bear witness. Interstellar indigenous, universal homeless, eternal suffering. Our love will shine away the abyss with a vision of omni-acceptance. Enveloping all, we transcend, existing on multiple levels of reality and reverberating through time and space, cataclysmic, disintegrating parallel possibilities and bringing unity to realities. Our stories are written and channeled through vessels of light. We are those vessels of light, angels. Hold our hands and rejoice in the love and respect, humanity, connection, and respect for life, peace, understanding, humility. It goes on for some time, but yeah, that's an excerpt from it.
That was
So
lovely.
talk about how that works as surrealism for you and the connection.
Well, I was definitely tapping into that, like that place I was going when I would not say microdosing. I would say macrodosing. Some would say recreational use, but like I really was just trying to like find purpose in what I was writing. And I wasn't editing. I kind of just was like flowing with it and like
Yeah, like you were saying before, it just strips away the layers of the ego, so you can get right to that raw source and just let that flow out. And to document it is amazing too. I'm huge about journaling and writing or even recording experiences when you're in that space.
right on.
Anyone else
Um,
want to read?
oh, no, can I just say something though? I didn't want to read, but I was just going to say that
Of course.
that the science of how actually like mushrooms, let's take that as an example, how that affects the brain as well, is not very well understood. But I read a little bit about how it was essentially like in society we have linear thinking, and as we're adults we have linear thinking, which is like very logical and not very chaotic, like I say. But apparently you know, the psychedelics, the mushrooms help us get back to our childlike brain, which was a lot more non-linear imagination. You know, the first time I ever did mushrooms, I was like, oh my god, this is how I used to see the world as a child, because it was just like everything was beautiful and everything had character and colors, and you know, you couldn't walk along the path without stopping everything. And it was really a childlike, for me, like a childlike. Most times I do mushrooms now, I do feel like it's a recovering of that inner child. So
yeah, definitely.
And I think in mute, you know, when you're talking about the poetry, you know, I've been using it a bit to write poetry. I have not done that before in the past, but recently I have been. And I find that the ideas that come down are, you know, I use it for idea generation. So I kind of get all the download and dump on the page, and then I edit it later into more kind of structure. But I think that it kind of opens the floodgates for me, if that's like the way to describe it. But I do know that just in I used to use weed as well for that when I played music, when I improvised, because it would make me feel comfortable and more free. And then I stopped using any drugs altogether and just did it, you know, by myself. And that is like, I think that it's possible for us to get this kind of connection to the source without using these substances. But I think, you know, our brains are kind of like screwed up again by the society and how we teach ourselves and how we learn to be very linear and logical. So, and there's arguments about whether that childlike imagination can be rediscovered or not.
Yo, I once wrote a poem, I'm not going to share any of it, with an artist from India, from the Himalayas, named Bhai Joy Lakshmi Das. And I told her actually through the poem that, like, you know, I reached this sort of enlightenment through mushrooms and use of psychedelics, and she kind of was a little upset about it, but like we still continued the co-write. And she was like, well, you have to find this sort of enlightenment through, like, you know, mindfulness and meditation. And like she like learned through gurus, and she was like, you know, whatever you do, don't record this poem. She was like, I don't know, she was like real adamant about like keeping it only in writing form. And you know, I respected that, but that's neither here nor there. But I just thought it was interesting to like feel like I got to this point, you know, with drugs, this realization that she did in the poem. And you know, she didn't see, I'm like, well, we got to the same point, you know, like we came just using different methods. And I do agree, Nebula, that, you know, we can tap into that without psychedelics. And it's not like, oh, you for sure need this drug to make a cool sound, because some people are tripping their own right. Like we're all different, and like some musicians kind of know how to play with things to get you to feel a certain way and to set up a certain mood and vibe. But yeah, I agree with that totally.
Great. Other sharing? Anyone else want to share?
Like, I literally have so much to say. I can't even remember what I was going to say.
I was going to say, Jennifer, I think the thing you said the other day that was interesting was about you not using psychedelics to create.
I was going to say that I really agree with all of this because I live it. It's like, I don't have to, it's very rare that I would do psychedelics or something. I've only had experience with any type of psychedelic like 3 times in my life. But guys, I really want to say so much.
Yeah, do it.
Like,
we have time.
Okay, like I really don't take psychedelics. So like, I guess I'll start by saying that there was a time in my life where I was like very, very heavy into meditation, like very, very serious. And I used to meditate anywhere from 3 to 6 hours a day, every single day. And it was very like, it was a deep practice. But during that time, like, I feel like there was a point where I feel like from the people that I've talked to who have had experiences with DMT, I feel like during that meditation, I unlocked some type of like DMT reaction or chemical in my body, because it's in your body. But I feel like somehow through meditation, I got there. And yeah, like I never done any psychedelics before that time. And I really didn't have any urge to after that, just because like I felt like that was like I didn't, from doing that through meditation, I felt like I didn't need it anywhere else. Like I didn't need to get it anywhere else, because I knew it was like I could do that anytime I want to through breath work and meditation. So it wasn't like this whole I needed the experience. But people would come up to me and tell me after my shows, most times people would come up to me and tell me like how my music made them think about their past trips, or like especially if they've done ayahuasca, there was always this connection of like my music triggered their trips, or like things that they learned from ayahuasca like would just flood back during like that show. And then they would come up and tell me about it. But it's like I always thought it was kind of funny, because like I never made, well, I have made music high on stage one time, and it wasn't as great, I will say, but it was, I mean, I have done it, but it's most times I'm completely sober when I make music. And I just think it's like, it's interesting that like it's opening these, well, people used to call me the portal opener. That was like one of my nicknames as a musician. So I just feel like it's this gateway, and I'm like this facilitator. And okay, that's like the first part of what I wanted to say. Is it okay if I continue?
Please.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're rolling.
So I wanted
Everybody
to
here said we could stay all night, so keep going.
Exactly. No, but I wanted to read a thing, because I think it was Ryan earlier made a point about freedom, and then I don't know, we just started reading pieces, but it made me think about like freedom and identity, and how I feel like most of my trips, I've had like 2 trips microdosing with mushrooms, and 1 trip microdosing with acid. And I feel like both of my mushroom trips were like just me in the mirror doing like this empowerment type of thing. But really, the first time I did that, it was a lot of staring at myself in the mirror, and like identity, like coming to terms with like identity and like who I am in this body, on this earth, in this moment, like in that time in my life, like just, I don't know, just like getting a grip on myself. So yeah, and then the second time was more like empowering, like you're awesome, you got this, blah 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 type of stuff. So I feel like, you know, it brought me to identity more than anything. And also with acid, it was more just like reminders about, I'm like water obsessed when I'm on a trip. I don't know why, like I just need water.
More water, more life.
I want to appreciate it. I want to talk to it. I just like,
There's something up, sorry, let me interject. There's something about like clearing out your pores, or like taking like don't drown, go and dip in a pool or taking a shower. It like cleans out your pores and it like opens up your experience. Sorry.
No,
What about Jennifer? Continue on that thread. So, what about so you've done intense meditation, you've had, I think you have ongoing, have that in your practice. How does that inform your making of art, aside from psychedelics? Your spiritual practices or your spiritual understanding? Do we have
Well,
you with us?
I feel like, okay, wait. I feel like the thing I'm about to read will kind of say what I want to say.
Cool. Cool.
So I'm just gonna read this. This writing came after, like, I was just having a night like about identity and feeling a lot of frustration about just our histories as African Americans and being like torn away from lineage, because spiritually my life path is a 6, and it's like, if you know anything about numerology and life path numbers, a 6 is like about your family. And I do care about my immediate family, but I feel like that's always like extended into ancestral lineage and family lineage and history. And I'm like really big on history. So I was just having a whole night of like identity. But I'm just gonna read an excerpt of the writing that I wrote like after feeling all of that frustration. My music is inherently spiritual. In the spirit, I am everything and anything. The world tells me I am Black. The world tells me I am a woman. The world tells me I am a slave and descendant of. The world tells me I'm straight when the world tells me I am working for paychecks. The world tells me my worth. The world tells me I am limited. The spirit says I am everything. The spirit says I am interconnected. The spirit says there are no borders, and the spirit says there are no boundaries. The spirit says the body's origins are separate. The spirit doesn't require. The spirit is. When I play music from my soul, sounds like many tribes. Oh, it sounds like many tribes and pulls from many ideas in the subconscious mind. It doesn't require, it doesn't call to an origin, because it is in spirit, and it is interconnected. It is everything. The stress of finding my lineage as an African American is a sharp, deep well of pain in my heart. I feel my chest tighten when I think on the effects of Africans being physically, psychologically, and spiritually severed from their roots and families and origins and lineage that has caused generations and 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 generations. That is the root chakra, stripped bare, pulled, stretched out to the bone. That is warfare. That is colonialist bullshit. That is the most painful and inhumane act I've ever given thought to. That is why when I play, I am everything. And I deserve that expression into the universe. When I'm playing the sounds from my soul and spirit, none of the roots of the flesh matter. It is all connected to what we know in our souls, and we don't need specifics about tribes or origins to get the information that's within. So I feel like, yeah, when I play music, it's just like it's from a spiritual place, it's from my soul, and it's like within that, there's like this ultimate freedom. Yeah, and that's like the basis of my music. It's just like freedom from everything, total transcendence.
Total transcendence. What does that mean?
Like just getting the fuck out of here, you know?
Right.
Not
Also,
just like
also
nah.
bringing in something from out there here, like, and bringing that down and sharing that with others as well. It's the two-way communication and expression.
Yeah, otherworldliness.
That's where, for me, it connects a lot. Is that scales, and my experience in meditation is when I actually get quiet, even my mantra goes away, then I am in complete oneness or at least to have an inkling of the oneness of everything. And that's transcending this moment, this body, this flesh, but not leaving the flesh, but recognizing, transcending the locus of the consciousness. Because this flesh is this earth, is this air, is this planet. Now I'm feeling it. Can I share now?
Yeah. That's
I'll share. The sky treasury. Sprinkling from heaven is heaven in pieces. Sodium chloride dissolved in the miracle of hydrogen dioxide that should bring life, not death. No, remember the cycle. Something comes from nothing. Unborn are born and unborn in the terrestrial tide of struggle, self-awareness, suffering. There may be a way out, a mighty jewel crafted by the hands of all of us, infinite secret offerings never known, spoken of, the gifts of the least of us, as immeasurable, radical, true as the gifts of the great. This jewel, a vast treasury of souls, offered up from the earth, lifted like purified water, infinite condensed piers, suspended once more. And what I'm trying to do with that poem is connect, thank you guys, is to connect the natural functions of the physical functions of the world with our ability to impact with it and legacy that comes from that. And I'm always on this idea of, yeah, there's greatness. There are those that are great. And there's also the rest of us, or maybe we're great sometimes too. But every person on the planet, every living thing is also of the planet, of the air, of the water. And so that cycle, that birth and rebirth, the flow, is what I try to experience. And I think that maybe is a good transition to sort of the next question, which is there a should in all of this? Is there some moral imperative that underlies our work that touches on either surrealism, psychedelics, spirituality? Is there something that we want other people to follow, or that we feel impelled as a moral imperative? Is there a should here?
Like for our personal paths and journeys?
And I would say yes, but since we're artists, we're also putting out into the world. So both of those.
I would say for me, that's true. Yeah.
Well, Hector, what do you think?
I mean, like, I used to think there was, I mean, I feel like it's more, for me, it's like more a want than should. Like, a lot of what I thought was a should actually was a want. I've been like reframing that language a lot, and by like narrowing down what my shoulds like really are, it's like empowered them a lot more. Um and even when it comes to like when I'm like, oh, okay, this is like my calling, this is what I'm meant to do and share with people, it still feels like a choice in some aspect. I mean, some of it, I can't really help because like, I get these like intuitive downloads from the ether, from my ancestors, from the universe. They just kind of happen, usually in like dreams when I go to sleep. So yeah, I've been sitting a lot more with aligning more with my most natural, curious, free, resting, playful state of just like Just pursuing my authenticity and showing up as myself wherever I go. And I used to think that was like such a like a surface level thing, but the more I dove into it, the more I realized that just by existing in a space, it can have like an impact that I and or other people may not even be aware of, whether it's like what I look like or what I say or what I don't say. And I think a piece that I wrote came to mind, kind of touching on like these different dreamscapes and what they've been teaching me and how it relates to my spiritual practices. And so I'll share a piece. It's called Dream Drip, and the way it's structured is it has a short stanza and then an erasure of the previous stanza. Like it takes away certain syllables, letters, words, and like creates a new little phrase of its own. Dreams dripping from my internal eyelid, box of crystals holding lives left. Run, lurk from uniform minefields. Dream from internal crystal I forms. I learned to unlisten my hypnosis. Lullabies of mental escape. Raids, sirens blaring your name, necromance, lost neural pathways, whispering, lullabies, escape, your neural whisper. I learned to survive by catching lost palms, quarantine dreaming, drips into internal libraries of ruptured minds. My name's sung different each chaos day, ranting into ruptured chaos. I learned to speak my psyche in lost tongues. Reality weeps as it beckons my soft cradling. Each time I birth new warmed tales for lucid truths, reaps soft birth tales. I learn to translate my mind into time. Each sunrise rewrites visions into spoken. Archives of my throat journals. I speak dreams into realism. Sunrise writes visions. Archives speak. I unlearn tensions stored in my gut's gunk. Each internal eye opens light. Rays of spiraling archives, ancestral tongues speak source into my molten core. Each light spiral speaks molten. I unlearn a matrix and run to shore.
Nice.
Come on now.
That was
Yeah.
amazing.
Thank you.
That's amazing to have read that, by the way, as well as you did, being a page poem like that.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it was dope.
I love using the page as like as instructions with like the line breaks and the spacing. It gives it an interesting rhythm.
Totally. Very
So
cool.
touching on calling, I would say like it's absolutely every single one of ours responsibility to tune into this. And if we're not going to necessarily share it and externalize it to to allow ourselves to access these spaces where we can create for ourselves. Like there's a reason why we have this little like whisper in our minds, to do these things. And I'm always creating in the shadows, just for myself as like an expressive tool to kind of process different emotions and things. And You know, even if I don't share it with people, like doing that sends ripples, like Hector was saying, sends ripples through just existing, taking up this space and thinking the thoughts that you're thinking is changing the world. So it's paramount that it's our responsibility to create and to you know, embody this like divine being that we, you know, are all kind of like waking up to and striving to be in whichever way, you know, on our own path towards that. But to radiate that love and you know, if you can create something and inspire others, like I know just seeing like everybody share their stuff, when you see someone else thrive, it's an incredible experience, and it's absolutely empowering for me to even do my own work in the shadows. So yeah, thank you.
I want to mention at this time that Nebula and I are working under the name Pay the Poets, hashtag Pay the Poets. And I'm happy to say that all the panelists are getting a crisp Franklin for showing up today. And that's thanks to FMRL. Ephemeral Press is my publisher. They are an artist collective that publishes poetry and also does other intersectional and interdisciplinary work, a lot of happenings, installations, movies, novels that are made within the group. So check out at FMRL Press on Instagram. Not super active there, but that's a good way. Most of the tags and handles we're using are Instagram handles. So I'm originally Giotis on Instagram. Nebula is Nebula _ the Velvet Queen.
Mhm.
Is there another underscore?
Yes.
If we
Yeah,
do, you can see
definitely.
above.
There is an underscore, yeah.
We'll drop everyone else's handles in the comments and with the post when this goes up as well. So thanks to FMRL, and we're open for donations as well. Cash App is $Nebula 1988. Housekeeping done. Is that true? Let's see. Someone says that's the wrong handle, but whatever. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah, I tried to check it out.
All correct.
Anyway, yeah, I definitely think we have a purpose. Otherwise, like,
it's there.
what sort of chaos would
Oh,
we be living in?
FMRL, not FRML. Ephemeral, FMRL Press. It's there.
We have as much purpose as we give ourselves. You know, like like Nietzsche would say, good and evil were created by man. Like, where else did we get that?
Mm.
Someone was saying the other day about the watchmaker to me, and it like stuck in my head, and I really want to write a poem about it, but I haven't structured it yet. But like, if you're walking in the desert, I'm like, first of all, why am I walking in the desert? Do I have water? Like, is it anyway? I hate those things. And you come across a watch, yet you didn't meet the person who made the watch, yet the watch exists. And that it goes to say to the universe, like, we're walking in the universe, we're floating around the star, we're here. So like, what made us? And I was like, yeah, that's cool. Who made the watchmaker though? That's what I'm stuck on. I get it. I accept like, personally, I'm like, I accept the whole God thing. Yeah, sure. What made time?
And I was just going to say, to jump back to the question about the should we be, should you? I can't remember the exact question, but for me, I feel like, obviously, like, we're faced with the problems of the world today, and my art is definitely an attempt to, I feel like, spread certain ideas about liberty and spirituality. Definitely, I'm trying to show people these spiritual lessons that I suppose psychedelics has opened up for me, but not just psychedelics, just the spiritual lessons in general, and kind of convey that through poetry as well. So I do feel like my work is really political, and it's about but it's and spiritual, but it's like deliberate. Do
you want to share a piece, Nebula?
I was thinking about sharing one. I'll share one that I wrote last time I was doing mushrooms, and it was I remember really vividly the kind of rush of ideas onto the page. So I'll read this one. Okay, so this is called I Want to Die Before I Die. Once upon a time, in the dawning days of Aquarius, on an unremarkable day in the dreamy heights of August, I was composing ardent love poems about the cosmic order, lawless and awesome, an angelic chorus. But there was at the back of my mind something cautious, the smallest torsion under the fallen leaves, calling me coquettishly to the land of the dead. I allowed myself to be led through a bare-boned forest to the tree of life, a faucet that once opened swelled forth all forms of pesky demons, fleshless horses, headless huntsmen, and bodacious goddesses. All of them had frolicked in the honest sea of infinity, also known as death's doorway. Some call it a golden tranquility. Others say the place is more modest, like a promise. The end of life makes me nauseous, so naturally I tried to run from it. But the demons whispered into my ear that such and such childish notions are nothing but milk from the teat of spiritual novices. All conscious beings know well the rawness of this deal we call living, this cage made of sagging skin rotting in the fridge. The Jesus Christ superstar, the unnatural and the foreign, the smallest scoreless sore spot of the raucous cacophony of existence. The come on man, let's dance this one last dance under the stars, and then the whatever of death. As I was contemplating all of this, out of the everlasting darkness of the faucet came a smiling Adonis by the name of Thomas, a Taurus, a celestial tourist, but more than this, a shaman amongst us. His head was topless and by design, thoughtless. Thomas led me to the top of the mountain of the universe, where we found a walnut within a walrus. And though my mortal mind fought against it, I desired it as soon as I saw it. When I plucked the walnut from the smelly belly cavity of the walrus, the whole concept of death was demolished before us, laid flat, and just like that, life became an endless sameness. Once there lived a million different words for death in the thesaurus, but all of them were erased in a moment. The children, now immortal, never again slept soundly, their every waking moment haunted by endless dream imagery of the strip above the wall where death lives and life falls. I turned to seek counsel from Thomas, but to my horror, he had vanished. And so too had the faucet, and so too had the walnut. The end.
Yeah.
That's definitely surreal.
Definitely.
That was like, oh my God, like the divine comedy in a different way. I don't know, it just reminded me of that. That was awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, I really enjoyed writing that.
So connect
Yeah,
up the
so it's just an example of like how I try and like tell spiritual. I'm trying to tell people the thing about spirituality without telling them, just kind of showing them.
Mhm.
Get the kind of tingles, don't you? Like
Yeah,
after
yeah.
hearing
There's
something
a sensation. It's definitely sensational to like when it resonates like that. You get tingles through your whole body, and like spirituality is sort of that tingling, that crystallization of like our truths. So to say it like that, and even so abstractly too, is really really, really beautiful imagery and just like puts you right in the space, like the truth. The walnut and the walrus.
Oh my God, I love it.
Is it like truth without meaning? Something like that's happening. It's like
Mm.
some connection that just comes, even though we can't make out what's actually being said or described.
Right, the feeling.
Hmm. Okay, I have a question that I really want to know the answer to. I want to know like the big A answer to this one, which is why do I would put it each to you, why do you, but let's open it up. Why do we deserve to be artists? What good is it to society? What are we doing for society? Why shouldn't we just all shut up and get to work building some shit, entering
I think
something big out of it?
the question is, why do we go to work, and why don't we just become full-time artists? That's like why don't we just get paid to do art and do what we love? Like, why do we have to go to grind away? Like, is that a system of control? Do we all have to work? Do we really all have to work? Do we? That's my question. And like, I hate to throw it back out and be Socratic like that, but
No, that's it. That's the question.
That goes back to what Nebula was saying about this experience of like this childlike nature, and going back to like that purity and that creativity and that connectivity. I mean, we all should be striving to find that space within ourselves and bring that forward. Yeah, why do we have to work? Why can't we just express our experiences and share that love with everyone? No, that's the magical realm we're all trying to manifest, right?
Other thoughts from the room?
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like I see where that question is coming from. Um and I also feel like I don't know where am I going here? It's like we kind of exist outside a lot of us. I feel like it if we're like channeling our like true selves, can go in and out of, that frame, that box of like, oh, what good do you what's in it for us? I mean, in my experience, like my art isn't for everyone. I'm not always of value to like every single person. I feel like sometimes my art can be intimidating because it's so like but I just think that it cycles back to that thing of like resonance and having a ripple effect in a community where kind of like the spark of like ideas that are channeled to us, and then we send it out to whoever may listen to us, and then they tell someone else and they tell someone else. It just like keeps going until suddenly you have like a bajillion people talking about this like this emergence of people talking about this one thing or various angles about this one subject. And I think that's what's especially happening right now. I feel like that process has been like accelerating for the past who knows. And yeah, and I think that for me, I've just been trying my best to, through all of that, also pursue joy and pleasure and authenticity and rest and community, while also maintaining myself financially, just keeping all of my different energies in check, whether it's emotional, spiritual, financial.
You mentioned Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, an excellent surrealist work, and that the answer that they give in the book to why what is the ultimate reality, the ultimate truth of life, and why we're here. The answer is 42. Now you've got to go find the question. They do find the question.
We gotta go make another computer now.
They do find the question, and the question of which 42 is the answer is 7 times 6. That's right there. That's it.
I heard he just came up with that on the spot. I don't know if it's true, but he was kind of like, what am I gonna put with this? Yeah, I'll just do 42.
What a letdown, though! Like if you followed the original BBC series and like watched it every week, and you didn't read because there's a book, right?
Yeah. It was radio first.
Oh, radio, yeah. And you get to the end, and they're like that. You're like, come on, I'm never watching this guy again, or listening to anything this guy's got to say again.
So, you guys, it's been 90 minutes.
Oh, can I say something? Can I just say something really quickly?
You have time.
To respond to the question, I just wanted to say that when I told you that I was when I was looking to kind of studying anarchism, I was reading a book by Emma Goldman, who it was essays on anarchism, and the last chapter of the book was all about she was saying that what she felt like was the most powerful tool. She wasn't an artist, but she said that she felt like art was the most powerful tool for spreading anarchist ideas, and she was talking more about plays and things like that. But I always think the Death of the Salesman is a good example of how you feel like it's like this whole critique of the American dream, and it's more about like the power of art is that you make people feel, you can make people feel empathy. You can make people really, rather than arguing with them about these things, sometimes it's like art is like a more powerful tool essentially. And I really feel like, especially right now, we're in this like beginning of this time where artists haven't been valued at all. And but I do feel like artists are going to come into their own, and there will be valuing of artists. And to the point Shubi made, that there was it was like a survey in England about what's the most unessential worker, and it was artists by like 70 something percent or something. And it's frustrating because we all know that the value, I mean, even before I became an artist, but like how much art has the power to heal. My work really is on like the idea of trying to heal people, rather than for example, throw more on top of them about what's going wrong. But I think that the healing part and getting everybody to look in their own, the reason we exist in this society that we exist in is because people are just happy to let it happen. And I think that there is an inner healing that has to happen so that we become more socially aware and we care more about other people. So I do think it's really important.
And isn't that like a funny outcome of like artists are inessential, but right now, for the last years, the entire world has been suffering. What have people been doing? Like reading books and watching Netflix and just waiting to get out and get into the theater or anything, dying for more art. It's the one thing that's been able to continue during this time in a difficult to produce, but in terms of consumption, it's been a lifeline for the world.
Yeah, absolutely necessary.
We have a couple more pieces of the program before we close out, but I think this would be a time for a last call if anyone else wants to share a piece. I think that would be you, Ryan. Are you interested?
I don't really have anything with me that I'm willing to share, but I mean, I think we really touched on some amazing topics here, and just like to be able to, again, to see people thrive and see people share themselves and put themselves out there and create, without judgment. I think just like practice of creating with intention to do that, the quality of it, shines through and will resonate with people, regardless of what you think of it. You're often way too judgmental of your own creation, or at least I am. So I'm inspired even just from this to put out way more work out there. I've got tons of things in the hard drive, so I'm like, let's do it. Let's get it out there, because it's really, really necessary to expand, push some boundaries right now, and bring in this paradigm shift.
Super. So that is a beautiful segue. We have some people in the audience. We'll open for some Q&A at the end if people are interested. We wanted to make sure to do this last bit with the people who have chosen to join us here in the Zoom and on Facebook. I don't think the YouTube link happened, unfortunately. But so we would like to do an intention setting together. And Nebula is going to lead us in that.
Okay, I'm going to do I will do a mindful breathing meditation, and then we can do the attentions. Okay. All right, everybody. So everybody close your eyes and just settle, and I'm going to guide us through this breathing meditation. As your body settles and your eyes close, bring your awareness to your breathing. Notice the breath coming in and the breath going out. Follow the breath with your awareness. Follow the breath all the way in and follow the breath all the way out. Not trying to change it in any way. Just breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in, feel the breath as it passes through your nostrils. Breathing out, feeling the breath as it leaves your nostrils. Keeping your awareness lightly and gently on your breath. Breathing mindfully in the present moment. Breathing in, I know I am breathing in. Breathing out, I know I am breathing out. If thoughts do come in, as they always do, acknowledge them without judgment, then let them go. Let them drift away like clouds floating across the sky, and bring your awareness back to your breath, back to your breathing, back to the present moment. Breathing in, I know I am breathing in. Breathing out, I know I am breathing out. Breathing in, I calm my body. Breathing out, I smile. Continue to mindfully breathe in this way, all the way in and all the way out. Become familiar with the steady rhythm of the breath. As we bring this meditation to an end, keep your eyes closed for just a while. Take a moment to notice how you are feeling, your body, your mind, your spirit. If you like, offer gratitude for this time you have taken for yourself, to be quiet, to breathe, and bring yourself back into balance. So slowly come back into the room, aware of your body in the chair. Open your eyes whenever you are ready.
Ryan, can you restate your intention to bring some more of your work out into the world? And we'll go.
Yeah, absolutely. I think throughout this conversation, there was a huge intention to just kind of help educate some people who were on the fence about psychedelics and approaching spirituality and using that and integrating that into their life and their creative process. And then for me, what I'm drawing from all this too is, don't hold back. So my intentions are to create, without fear, and to release uh, everything that I feel called to release, to continue to flow from this heart space and share this with the world, really.
Thank you. Shubi 3 Doobie 3.
Look, whether you want to like deny it or accept it, we're all just mere fractals of God and like a refractions of the prism of light. Like where else did we come from if not from a divine source? I mean, I'm not preaching on any religion or any, like, I'm just saying, like, if one thing's true, it's that, we all are brothers and sisters in the struggle of life.
Hector?
I'm sorry. I have this other event coming up, and I was just checking in real quick, but I did get a chance to do the meditation. What exactly was the
So
question?
now we're bringing forth intentions from today that will carry
Hmm.
forward. I can pass on you if you want a second.
Oh, for sure, for sure. I can answer that. My intentions were to just share a bit of my resonance with you all, and to, like, through this conversation, just like intake a lot of other teachings and knowledge and information to like activate more, just to dive a little deeper into myself through this conversation, through the breathing exercise. When I opened my eyes, like, I did feel like I was like, it felt like a little psychedelic, because I do have, because I've done substances in the past, it kind of still is with me in a way, and so when I do any mindfulness practice, it kind of sparks a bit of those memories, and so thank you for that. Thank you.
Nebula? Oh, Jennifer? Jennifer
Yeah,
next?
good for Jennifer.
I'm going alphabetical.
Um, First of all, I did not speak for a long time. And I didn't say a lot of what I wanted to say, especially in those last two questions about intention and why we do what we do. But I was really in my head. I feel like my responses to those are really complicated and nuanced and lengthy. So I don't want to say everything about that. But my intention today for this talk, we're really just to be here and connect the dots a bit, because I feel like I always do that in a really subconscious way through my art. Um, and I don't really talk a lot. So to just kind of like verbalize and talk it out and connect the dots is always a good thing. These things are very like closely, highly related. And I don't know, I like facilitating space. So any space, to talk about these things is great.
Excellent. Nebula?
Yes, I will just say I kind of feel the same way as Jennifer. These obviously these are all very complicated issues, and they're all part of my experience. But it was really helpful to kind of listen to other people as well, and how they connect to the different topics that we talked about today. And in my opinion, the more spiritual people are, the more definitely I would say people should think about experimenting with psychedelics. It's definitely helped me in my life, and for healing, it's helped with some of my harder challenges in life. So definitely I feel like, and also, yeah, the final thing, which was about surrealism, like thinking outside of the box, not following the rules. I feel like those are things that are important for people to think about right now. And so, yeah, that's really my intention with this. And I just want to say a big thank you to everybody as well, because you're all really brilliant and wonderfully deep conversation, and I appreciate that from everybody.
That makes it my turn. Firstly, I'll say that we are going to do a little Q&A to take us to the top of the hour. And I think, Jennifer, at that time, we may put some of that question back to you if it's formulated into something you'd like to share, because I do want to hear thoughts that have percolated during this event. And I recognize that some people that are quiet often have the greatest insights. So,
Amen to that.
yeah. As far as my intention, there's a book called Zen Mind, Beginner Mind, Shunryo Suzuki, and he says enlightenment is every moment. And the book is almost a repetition of this idea throughout. You know, what that looks like to me is, for example, in meditation, when the mantra stops and the thinking hasn't started yet, that's enlightenment right there. You can hold on to that moment. So I'm going to continue to look for those moments outside of meditation as well. I think that's something that my psychedelic experience has helped with, in that you can find and hold on to the quiet for a second. I hope that helps me expand my compassion and my understanding of others. And in terms of activity, I'm doing this because I want to support artists, and I really feel doubly grounded in that now, because I see what happens when artists get together. And you know, I think if we did comparisons of our ideas and our motivations and our art, we'd find incredible diversity in what we're doing and how, even though I think we're fairly like-minded. It just goes to show what artists can bring to the world. So I'm going to do what I can with what resources and privilege I have to go out and expand into helping bring that to artists and bring artists out to the broader world. So with that, I want to thank you all. We're going to open up for questions and answers. I think we have 4 people here that are welcome to offer any questions into the panel, and we'll be checking the live streams as well. But first, I'm going to put a question to you, Jennifer, which is what I want to hear is you talk about calling a little bit.
About calling?
Calling, or is there a moral imperative to this? Do we need to be doing this? Do people need us to do this?
Right. So I think this is where one of my responses were kind of complicated. Because, okay, I feel like music has never been like, I feel like some people get into music out of like a hobby, or I feel like everybody here is like called or answered a call, or something in their destiny, but it's just always been like, it's always been that feeling of like a call, not as much as birth work. I will say I'm a doula, and that call to be a birth worker for me was much deeper than to be a musician. But there was still something really deep about the call to be a musician and pursue music in some capacity. And I feel like, yeah, it was always really serious for me. Like it was always like kind of life or death. Like not life or death. It's just like it was always, yeah, I was just saying life or death. It was that serious to me. And I didn't know what that looked like all the time. Because I wasn't always doing what I do as a solo artist. But I feel like what I do as a musician and what I do as an artist and what I do in life, given the life that I'm living on earth in this incarnation, like what I do, period, is like it matters. It doesn't like I'm there to take up the space. I'm there to like break into your art scenes. I'm there to disrupt your systems. I'm there to like fuck shit up. I'm there to like shake the tables. I'm there to disrupt everything about whatever's going on. I feel like a lot of my path as a solo artist has been about that in a certain way. And it wasn't like I started doing what I do as a solo artist with the intention of like music is a holy object and a, a spiritual tool. And I was learning all this stuff about sound therapy and vibrational healing in the human biofield and all this just science behind sound. And I wanted to apply that. And I did start with the intention of creating space and holding space for people. And I was telling Nebula last night that I did my first show in Cincinnati as a solo artist shortly after Eric Garner got killed by the police. And that situation, like the whole, I could feel the energy in the city and how, just how much it shook up the city. Like this was maybe like the second or third like big police shooting that happened in Cincinnati. And just like it affects the people every single time. So that time, you know, I learned what I learned about energy and vibration and sound and all this. And I was doing my thing in music as a jazz musician and as like a neo soul singer, artist, person, just playing other people's music. But then that happened and I was just like, these people need a space to like emotionally process and heal. And I'm gonna facilitate that somehow. I'm gonna like play a show and do a sound therapy session at a bar. And that was like my first show within that intention of like creating space and it being absolutely necessary and it being just a space for people to be in this intentional, spiritual, emotional type of thing. And that's always been like, since that moment, that's always been the basis of my show. Like I created another show where it was like following the full moons. And I'll pick that up again in July or June this summer. But it's the moon show. And I started the moon show just under the same intention of like spiritual space, emotional process, and gathering. And I feel like with those like foundations, those are just necessary things like in society, like no matter what. And gosh, I feel like my answers to these are so lengthy. Like I could just keep going and going, but I feel like society and our culture thrives off of what Black creatives do. And as an African American creative, I feel like what I do is just like, I'm just gonna keep doing it because we have to. Like, it drives the culture, one. As much as people don't want to acknowledge that, it drives the culture. And like I just have to take up space. I have to be in these art spaces. I have to like, I have to build my own tables. I have to knock down doors. And I've had to do it before. And I just have to keep doing it until things
Y-
change.
Yo,
So
did you say you were a singer?
I'm sorry, what?
Did you say you were a singer? I'm sorry to cut you off.
Yeah.
Dude, I'd love to hear you sing. Like, do you perform on lives? Do you go on Instagram? Sorry to cut you off. I'm just like really interested in like.
Well, the type of singing that I was talking about earlier, I don't really do that
Yeah,
anymore.
yeah.
I feel like I only sing in my solo music, which is all wordless. So it's a lot of just vocal expression nowadays. I got really into like wordless expression. So I sing all the time. It's just not it's not jazzy with words on it.
Yeah, but still, I'm interested.
But
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry. You were.
no, I don't even really remember what I was saying to that question. I feel
I think
like
your point about African American art driving culture, you know, it's I agree that it's not recognized, and it's such a like heroic effort given the history and given the silencing, the political silencing, the violence.
oh, this is what I was gonna say, right? Because it's not like heroic. It's not like we're doing it for the culture or to drive. We're not doing it like for that intention, or at least I'm not. And I feel like the people who have created before me, we're not doing it for that. It was for a freedom. I feel like my music is like, I started it with the intention of for the people and for the healing of the people, but especially last year and this year, I'm realizing more and more that my art is more for me than I ever realized. Like there's actually things that I really, really get out of it on a deep, deep level. Even though it is so healing for everybody else, it is like so much of an escape from this world for me. It's so much of like in a space where I can unload my burdens and like just everything. Like, and I never really saw it that way just because it was started in like this heroic kind of intention, this like martyrdom, selfless, like I'm healing the people, I'm providing this space type of intention. But what I realized more is like it's about identity and it's about freedom and it's about like my expression on the deepest levels. And it's about like just that escape. I don't feel like it was ever a heroic type of thing, even though it is like beautiful and I guess martyr type behavior to like carry society in that sort of way. But I like the piece of it from what I feel personally and what I see is like this is our escape, like this is freedom, like this is the closest I'll get in this society and in this world to some sort of like ultimate transcendent freedom.
In that way, is an art is an individual heroic act because it's a struggle to free ourselves from this linear production consumption based existence that says do anything else, would be better than to spend your time doing art. You guys, are there other questions from the panel, something else you want to throw out to an individual or to the group? Going once, going twice. I want to acknowledge Nebula, who's just a straight up badass, and who, I mean, Nebula, you're out there inspiring people with your work all the time, and you just see people's brains just explode when you deliver the way you deliver what you're putting out there. So I'm gonna share one more piece that's really short as a as in honor of Nebula. if that's okay with everyone.
Aw.
It's called Nebula. Been stepping outside every night, watching planets pass stars, reset, remember my place, orbiting a ball of plasma, free of bonds. Look up tonight, she winked. The full moon is there, drowning in tropospheric vapors, and everything inverts. I'm up and she's down, veiled, glowing, alone, except for the stars.
Aw. Beautiful.
That's so
Love
sweet.
you.
Inspire
Also
people,
to
everyone
you.
here.
And also thank you to you too. You know, we've been we want to do more of these panels. We're kind of open to topics as well. If anybody has things that they want would be interested in panels with, we feel like it's a good way to get some of these ideas out there. And I just want to say also thank you so much for organizing everything, Michael, and being so brilliant and coming up with a Google Doc. It was so professionally done, and I really appreciate you for having the space for everybody. And your questions were brilliant.
Thank you. I don't take praise
absolutely.
well, but I appreciate it.
Yo, I think a conversation on trauma and art would be pretty cool.
Okay, cool. Let's talk about that. Let's follow up on that.
For sure.
I'm gonna if it's okay, I'm gonna let Jennifer play us out with a tune called Growth.
Oh God, I love this one.
Turn
Bump
that
it.
shit up.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can fix this to work. Yay, connecting. I thank you all. When we post, we're going to put all your tags in there. Please don't hesitate to reach out and let us know how else we can help you in any way. And this is Growth by Jennifer Simone. You can find it at Jennifer Simone Music on SoundCloud.
Can't hear anything.
I invite you to stay or leave as you like. We're going to leave this so it's on the master video.
Can you turn it up a bit?
Yeah. Your artwork is so nice as well.